When children are removed from their home due to allegations of abuse, neglect, or even abandonment, there's one program within Polk County that steps in and becomes the voice for the children. That program is called Guardian Ad Litem. And joining us in studio to talk a little bit about the program, some of the things that are going on, one of the veterans of the Guardian Ad Litem program, and of course Polk Place, is Diane Schmelz. How you doing, Diane?
I'm good. Thank you for having us again.
As always, it's a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you.
Also joining us is Molly Harlow. She's a volunteer coordinator for the Guardian Ad Litem program.
Hi.
And last but not least is Dorothy White. She's a mentor and volunteer guardian at Litem. So how you doing, Dorothy?
I'm good, thank you.
And you are a first timer too, right?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. See, this will go easy. All you got to do is just talk to me. This is a lot of fun already, isn't it?
Right.
She's going, no. Let's go ahead and start off with you, Diane.
Okay.
Let's give a brief overview of what the Guardian Ad Litem program is.
Well, as you said, we become the voice for the children who've been removed from homes because of abuse or neglect. We don't remove the kids. We don't have to prove or disprove allegations. The Department of Children and Families, they investigate. If they feel it's warranted, they remove the children. A judge assesses the situation, and if all that happens, he then appoints the Guardian Ad Litem program. So the good news is nobody's mad at us. We didn't remove the kids. But we step in to gather information, get to know the children, talk to teachers and doctors and caregivers and foster mom and the children and parents, so we can make a recommendation to the court as to what we feel is best for the kids. Now, while we're doing that, we become maybe the one and only person in that child's life that remains consistent. In foster care, brothers and sisters are separated. The guardian comes again to see the kids. So they learn to rely on the guardian. I matter. Somebody cares. Someone is making a difference in my life.
And all of this is done through volunteers, right?
Yes, and we do have some staff, but as Molly is, she coordinates the volunteers now because she can coordinate a lot more volunteers than she could handle cases on her own. So we've got right now over 650 volunteers, which is fabulous, highest we've ever been, but with almost 1,800 children in our area, we don't have enough. We only cover about 78%.
Molly, your job as volunteer coordinator, obviously kind of pulling the strings to pull all this together.
Correct.
What exactly does it take to do this?
Basically, once the case, as Diane said, comes from court and we're assigned it, then I would try to find one of my volunteers, such as Dorothy here, to take that case. We try to find the volunteers, the cases that are in the area where they live, so they're not having to travel all over the county since this is such a big county. And then I talk to that volunteer about the case, go over all the specifics, what needs to be done first, and then they accept the case and they go out. Usually the first thing I have them do is to go out and meet the child. Once they do that, they're usually hooked. So that's a good place to start.
Obviously, this isn't something that you can just walk into and go, I want to do this, and give me what I need to do now. What's it take to become a volunteer? Right now there's a 30-hour training program that is part classroom, part getting your first case. It's not 30 hours in the classroom. I don't want anybody to think that, because that's a long time. Yeah.
But you come through the training. There is a background check. You do need to have a clear background for the most part. And then you go through the training, and basically you decide if this is something you feel like you can do. We do want volunteers from all walks of life. Gosh, I have retirees, I have students, college students, and everything in between. So.
Talk about the commitment that the guardians are making to the children. Talk about some of the things getting involved with just kind of making a difference for them.
Well, on average, it's about a 10-hour a month commitment as far as time goes once you're through the training and have your first case. And as Diane said, you are usually the one person who is consistent for that child. If the child moves foster homes or goes from a foster home to a relative, you're going to be there so that that child knows wherever they move, they're going to have somebody that's going to find out where they are, cares about what they're doing. Volunteers are going to, you know, show up at the school to see how they're doing. They're going to check with doctors to see how they're doing. It's just one person who that volunteer knows really cares about them.
Dorothy, as a volunteer with Guardian Ad Litem, and of course a mentor, talk a little bit about the steps that you took to join the program and how you got involved.
Okay, I became involved with the program when I decided I needed to volunteer and do something and give back to the community. And I was trying to figure out what would be the best way for me to do that. And I love working with children. And it just so happened this commercial about the Guardian Ad Litem program caught my attention. So I called the number and set up the appointment and was taken through the application process with Miss Diane, the recruiter, and she talked with me in length and just told me a lot about the program, which was really exciting. So I went ahead and took the classes, and those were very informative, and thank goodness for them, because you just don't get thrown out there not knowing what you're coming up against. And then after you go through the classes, I myself was assigned a mentor, and she was wonderful, is wonderful. And whenever I had a problem, or even if I just needed to vent, I can call Miss Kay or Miss Molly as my coordinator. She's awesome for anything, and they're there to back you up and to help you, and they're just totally supportive.
Talk about the relationships with the children. Obviously, you're coming into their life at a very traumatic time, could be. Talk about the relationships and the training and how it helps you become a guardian ad litem, and it helps you help them.
Well, when I took on my first case, I was a little nervous, but once you meet the child, the training, what you have in your heart, everything comes together to be there for that child. That's all I want to do, is be there for the children. They're so special, and they're so young, they easily give you your trust. I work with mostly young children, and it's so hard to explain, because when I'm with the children, it's just all about what's good for them and what I know will be good for them, whether it's staying in their home situation or not.
Now, Molly, as the coordinator, when they're assigned children,
Mm-hmm.
and they go through the system, can they volunteer again? I mean, how does that work out? Can they have more than one, or they just run through, and then when that one's over, they how many can you do at once?
That's up to the individual volunteer. We definitely want them to have at least one case. We try to have all our volunteers have two if they're able, but we do have volunteers that work full time, and one case is all they can do, and that's great. And one case involves all the children in that particular family that are part of the case, so it could be more than one child. Just, you know. But the majority of our volunteers have two cases, and a lot of them, such as Dorothy here, have 3 or 4. It is individual, whatever they feel they have time for. We always would start out with one, be sure this is something they really want to do. Another thing that I feel like is important to note is these cases can drag on for quite some time. You are dealing with the court system, which I would say that the dependency court system is quite a bit quicker than the criminal court system, but it's still pretty slow. So you're probably looking at minimum a year, I think it's safe to say. Children are supposed to have permanency by a year, so they should either be back home or in another permanent living situation by a year. And that sometimes happens and sometimes doesn't. Sometimes they can go a lot longer than that.
Well, we talked a little bit about the training, what they go through, and what they're going through as far as the experiences with the children. But when they gather this information, one thing that we really haven't touched on, what happens to all this information? Who does it go to? I mean, you know, I get nervous. You know, yeah, this is my job, but it would really. Some things, you know, could get you out of your comfort zone.
Right.
So what happens with this information? Is it where does it go?
Well, that's why the volunteer and the coordinator work so closely together. And we really put a lot of thought into who'll work well, because people have different personalities. Not anything, bad, it's just people are different. So there's a lot of thought. When Dorothy came out of training, there was a lot of thought. Which one of our coordinators would she really work well with? And we thought Molly would be a perfect fit. So they feel good. They build a relationship. They build a rapport. So as Dorothy gathers information, she relays it to Molly. They work on reports together. If something's going on, Molly could go with Dorothy for a visit. If she says, I don't know, there's something there that I'm worried about, would you come with me? That's part of the role of the mentors. They're heightening their role, that they are actually going to be kind of doing part of the training, taking them on a visit or multiple visits, and sometimes just to have somebody else there that you can bounce things off of after, or even your first visit or so, having a mentor who kind of takes the lead and you can kind of shadow them a little, because it's unnerving. Nobody wants to make a mistake. They want to do a good job. So if you have a support system, you don't feel out on that limb by yourself.
Best case scenario, what are you looking at as what do you call a success story for a volunteer guardian ad litem?
Oh, we have a lot of them. We have a lot of them. It's not instant. In this world of instant gratification, that's not us. Sometimes you immediately click with the child and you get out of the car and they come running to you. Sometimes we have kids that they will push you away because I'm not going to get attached to you because you're probably going to walk away like everybody else in my life. So it's a process of building trust with that child. But when the guardians see these kids are in a better situation because I was part of their life. I had a case just a couple of weeks ago when I was speaking. A young lady said to me, she raised her hand at the end of speaking, she's in her 20s, she's got a child now, and she said, I had a guardian when I was a teenager, and she said she changed my life. I'm where I am today because of my guardian. She wanted to reconnect with her, which I took the young lady's name and called the guardian, and actually it was Kay, who was Dee's mentor and one of Molly's volunteers, and when I talked to Kay, Kay said, that child hated me. She said she was a teenager. She wouldn't even talk to me. So I said, well, you should hear her now. At like 24, 25, she is saying, she changed my life. I'm where I am because of her. Kay didn't think that was her biggest success, but she became a person that she realized, as hard as I push away, as tough as things get, my guardian's not walking away. So that's a success when you mean that to a child.
Dorothy, if you could inspire those at home to get off the couch, to show up, to pick up the phone, to become a part of this, how would you do that?
I would just let them know that there's so many children out there, and to me it's been very rewarding because I get to be a part of these children's lives, and they're so precious, and it brings me joy just to be able to go see them. We're only required to see them once a month. I see them, I go to have lunch with them at school. I get to take them on little visits if I want, and I just enjoy seeing them blossom when they've come out of a bad situation. And they truly, it means a lot to them. They will remember you. And there is a need for the children to have volunteers and guardians. And so it's just a rewarding thing. So
Molly,
on the couch, get up.
Molly, I'm going to give you the last word on this. What would you like to finish up? What would you like the closing thought to be?
I just think the closing thought needs to be that anybody can do this, and anybody can make a difference. And success for these kids comes in so many ways. Dorothy has had children that have been adopted, that have gone back home, that have aged out of the system and are now living on their own. There's just so many different ways that you can help a child, and it really doesn't take very long.
Diane, Molly, Dorothy, guys, I want to thank you for coming in today and telling us a little bit about Guardian Ad Litem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And of course, you at home, it's a very simple process to invest in the future of these children. It's as simple as becoming a guardian ad litem. And you sit to yourself and say, well, I can't do that. Yes, you can. Very simple. Invest in the future of these children. Get involved with the Guardian Ad Litem program. Guardian Ad Litem program, they have training sessions approximately every 4 to 5 weeks, and applications and interview needs to be completed before attending the program. Now, you need more information, you can contact Diane Schmelz. She's a recruiter at 863-534-2547.